we're live to go.
Okay, can I just confirm that all members and officers are in attendance as the live stream has begun? And we've got a modified start this time because I think it was getting longer and longer and longer. So I would like to start by welcoming those members of the public and press who are watching the live stream of this meeting through the Council's YouTube page. As you will be aware, we are meeting virtually in line with the government's guidance. Members, please, could you keep your video camera switched on at all times with your microphone muted, except when you're invited to speak. You could indicate your wishes to speak by raising the virtual hand. When I invite you to speak, please unmute your microphone, make your comments and questions, and then mute yourself again. Should we encounter any technical problems, I may adjourn the meeting while this is addressed. If your connection fails during the meeting and you're unable to reconnect, one of the Democratic Services team will contact you. Finally, I would remind all members the virtual meetings are recorded. If I could hand back to Ms. Kirby, please, and who will do the roll call of members present.
Thank you, Chair. Members, if you could just confirm you're present when I call your name. So, Councillor Holditch?
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Fitzgerald?
Yes, present, Pippa.
Thank you. Councillor Allen?
In attendance.
Thank you. Councillor Sereste?
I'm here.
Thank you. Councillor Farouk?
Present.
Councillor Hiller?
Yes, I'm here, Pippa.
Thank you. Councillor Seaton?
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Walsh?
Yes, sorry. Yes, present.
Yeah, thank you. And finally, Councillor Bashir?
Present.
Thank you very much. That's everyone present and correct, Chair.
Thank you. Could you mute yourself, members, please, now? One or two that haven't. Apologies for absence. I don't believe we have any, Pippa, do we?
No, there are no apologies.
Yes, John.
Yes.
Forgive me. Dr. Liz Robin sends apologies this morning.
Okay. Do we have a replacement?
No, we don't at the moment.
But she doesn't have anything on the agenda, does she? Okay.
Only related in terms of any cycling for public health issues, but nothing re COVID or anything else that we could update Cabinet on.
Okay. Okay. Do you have any declarations of interest?
Yes, Leader, if I might. Item 4, I'm a board member of Peterborough Investment Partnership who are to provide the necessary certification mentioned in 9.2 on page 14. That appointment is, of course, declared in the normal way on the Council's website. Thank you, Leader.
Likewise, as a member of PIP board, I should do the same. It's not a pecuniary interest, so we will stay and vote. So we're going to move straight into that item, please, which is item 4. Are you going to announce that, Councillor?
Sorry, Chair, to interrupt. We just need to confirm the minutes.
Oh, yes. I'm trying to get it done too quickly, aren't I? Right, minutes of the meeting, last meeting. Are you happy to approve them as a true record?
Yes, happy to approve, Leader.
Thank you. And I will second them. And do I see anybody against? No. So you're happy with that, Pippa, that they're agreed?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so I can now go to the item 4, yes, which is the University of Project Land Transfer and Delivery Arrangements. So over to you, Councillor Hiller.
Thank you, Leader, and good morning, members. As Cabinet members will have read, this significant report is submitted for their approval following the appointment of Anglia Ruskin University as academic partner to the University of Peterborough project, and following the approval of the final business case for phase 1 of the new university by the Combined Authority Board at its meeting on the 20th of July. The report informs Cabinet of the proposed change to the planned implementation of the University of Peterborough project, including the arrangements for the proposed transfer of council-owned land into a special purpose joint venture to develop the new campus, and the associated issues of the council shareholding, board membership and voting rights. JV is a company limited by shares and managed by a board of directors. The combined authority and Anglia Ruskin will subscribe for shares in the company by making a financial investment, and the council will do similarly by the market value of its land transfer. These investments will provide the necessary funding. Cabinet members will see there are a number of recommendations. Approving them today will enable the council to work with the other parties through a JV to enable the university delivery programme to progress expediently and efficiently through towards a common objectives and timescales. So it's really quite a significant proposal, as I've said. You might say, Leader, that this is the end of the beginning of our journey to making our university a reality for the residents of this city and for the benefit of generations to come. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. Dave Anderson, did you want to add anything to that?
Thank you, Leader. The only point I would make is that the report concerns the
Dave, we can't understand you, mate.
Tranche of land for phase 1 of the university, which comprises the phase 1.
Dave, we can't understand you, mate. You're garbled. Okay, well, I don't think there was anything that Dave added to that. Councillor Linnaeus? No?
Mr. Leader, I don't think she's on unless Pippa can confirm otherwise. Can't
Yeah,
see.
she's here.
No, Councillor, she's not in the meeting.
Okay, fine. Well, what Councillor Ayres wanted to know was there's a board going to oversee this with nominated people on it, which would have an independent chair. What I've arranged with the combined authority is that we will be part of the interview for that independent chair. So that's the question she wanted to ask, and that is the answer to it. Okay, thank you very much. Then are you on agree with the recommendations as set out on page 11? Okay, can I have a proposer and a seconder, please?
It would be my proposal, Leader.
Okay.
I'll second it, Leader.
Thank you very much. Do I have all those in favour, please? If you're not in favour, would you please show?
There's no one raising their hand, Chair.
Oh, happy. Okay, that's good then, isn't it? Okay, we're going to now question 5, which is down to you, Marco. Peterborough Limited Articles of Association. Marco.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. It's really very simple. When we did all the changes and took over from Amy, there were a few issues with the Articles of Association which were not changed, but they're only very, very minor, but they're important to the local authority because we are the only shareholder and it gives everybody much more comfort and control. So here you are. They're minor changes, but they are important, and I just recommend them to the Cabinet.
Okay, Cabinet. Simple they may be. If there are any questions? Again, I know Councillor Ayres had a question, but and it's so the question that she was going to ask, that she asked me this morning, she could ask, is why is the document access change so important? Do you want to address that yourself, Marco?
Well, I can do, Leader. It's just that it just gives the shareholders, the auditors and everybody else the right to access all the documents they need to see in order to have a proper working relationship. And if you want to put it, also a level of control over the company.
Okay, I think that's simple. Lynn's rejoining us. Are you back, Lynn? Pippa, is she back?
Just connecting to the
Yep,
audio.
just
by the looks of
connecting.
it.
Yes.
Leader, while she's connecting, may I just ask a question? I've got my hand raised.
Yeah. On item 5.
Yes. I mean, it's probably just worth making the point as Cabinet Member for Finance that it's my understanding there have not been any issues in access to financial information for Aragon. You know, this, as Councillor Trusty said, is sorting out a technical issue, but there is a good relationship there and we've had access to the information we need. Thank you, Leader.
Okay. Well, we have approved, I think, that Pippa, I'm ready to move to 6. Is that all right? Yeah.
No, we just need to confirm that everyone's happy with that recommendation.
Right. Okay. Are you all happy with that recommendation, folks?
Agreed.
Great. Okay. No objections. David, can you take? Oh, you might as well leave your hand up because you're the next one. Item 6 is the amendment to arrangements with Empower, set out on pages 33 to 52. David?
Yes, sorry, apologies, Leader. My Zoom is playing up a little bit today. So thank you. The Empower project has delivered solar power for nearly 8,000 houses. It's meant that this city leads the country for residential solar power. It's worth just stopping at that point. You know, we are the top city in the country for solar power on residential roofs. The deal with Empower has also given us over £3 million in income to support the services of this council. The loan facility was originally approved to provide the construction finance for the project, after which it was always the case the Empower team would look for a new long-term refinancing partner. This was nearly complete. And then came the pandemic. And due to uncertainty arising in the financial markets, their funding was unfortunately put on hold. As the construction phase of the portfolio has finished, the council needs to reflect this position, and so we asked Deloitte, its financial advisor, to remodel the loan to reflect this and to enable part repayments of the loan principal to be made. So it's really important that we start paying down the principal on the loan and we cover the interest. And that's what the proposal today does. I think it's the right way forward for now, and it doesn't stop a refinancing when markets free up again. I think there's a good margin between PWLB rates and the rate we're going to charge Empower, and that will be sufficient to cover both principal and interest. I'm happy to take any questions, Leader. Pete Carpenter is also on this call and he can deal with those as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Allen?
Thank you, Leader, and thanks for that report, David. Can I just check what is the long-term position for the council with this loan? I mean, on a quick overview, it seems to me that we're earning money and income, and we are starting now with the new proposals to get the loan repayment sorted out, the capital repaid. Am I reading this correctly, and is that indeed the long-term position?
Peter or David?
David, shall I go? Councillor Allen, yeah. In terms of the new arrangement, what this does is it allows us to make sure on a yearly basis that there is a capital repayment, and also, as Councillor Seaton has said, over time, from year one, we will make a margin over what we will lend the money at. What this does is, though, it puts us on a much better and Empower themselves on a much better footing, because at the moment, when we come out of the COVID situation, there will be potential buyers. What this makes sure is we can make enhancements to the portfolio, which will then, if we make enhancements, allow us to potentially claim carbon offsets and things like that. We can't do it at the moment because the portfolio has been there for 5 years. However, if we do things like add batteries or put things on roofs which collect data for other sorts of sources, we can actually, that will generate additional income on the scheme and allow us to claim other types of offset and enhance returns. So it is a long-term solution. However, it puts the overall loan portfolio for the solar power in a position where it will be much more attractive for buyers because there's long-term security.
Thank you very much for that.
Okay, Councillor Farouk.
Thank you, and good morning, members. Yeah, my question is the interest rate for this remodel facility at a good commercial rate interest? And furthermore, have we looked at all the options available to us and chosen this as the best option for this particular project? Thank you.
You'll take Carpenter to start on that again, Leader, and I'll add something.
Okay, Peter.
So thank you, Councillor Farouk. Yes, this has been a 1.5 year process in terms of getting to this point. We've had commercial and we've had legal and commercial analysts helping us in terms of getting this far. We went out to a mini tender process in February last year, which got us to the potential solution which Councillor Seaton was talking about. In terms of where we are and the depressed markets at the moment for the yields at the moment, what we've gone with is a commercial rate which will make sure that the deal doesn't fall over, because at the moment there is significant uncertainty on energy yields in terms of solar, wind, but the whole shooting match. And we're seeing it in terms of the return we're getting at the moment from the energy from waste plant in terms of our own energy consumption. So what Deloitte and Pinson's have done is made sure that we're protected in the short and medium term, that it is viable, that it gives us a basis from which we can build. As part of the heads of terms that we will do with Empower, there's also ways in which we can accelerate the payments back to us, which actually will increase the funding so that we get things done earlier, if possible, with the enhancements being made.
Okay, happy with that. I think Councillor Fitzgerald, you've got your hand up.
Yes, John, just a quick question really for Pete on the security of the loan. You'll recall that there have been a number of critics attacking our inventiveness of raising funds for the council, which, as David remarks, it's been quite substantial so far. And I've always said personally that, it's good. So just from a reassurance point of view for our critics, Peter, that the security remains the same, all the due diligence has been done, and the council is in a good position to continue receiving income, which I believe council approved as policy as part of our budget setting strategy, that we should look to seek income from external sources in terms of raising revenue, and this is one of those. So it all remains on track, fully secured, and the council will continue to receive money. So it's a positive thing, I would think, and I'm hoping you can confirm and agree.
Councillor Fitzgerald, thanks for that. Yes, so the deal, again, as part of Councillor Farouk's answer, we've structured the deal in a way that our interests are protected, that our capital is repaid as quickly as possible, but at the same time, there is the possibility for things to be accelerated. Further to that, there is also, as we come out of COVID, because we've put the process and the deal on a more long-term footing than the commercial or the startup process that we were in, it makes it more feasible that as we come out of COVID, there will be more interested buyers as people and their financing becomes available.
Okay. Councillor Farouk, did you get your question answered?
Yes, I did, Leader. Thank you.
Thank you. I haven't got anybody else wishing to speak, so you have a recommendation. as set out on page 33. Do I have a proposer, please?
I'm happy to propose that, John.
Okay, Councillor Fitzgerald. I'll second then, just to get it on the floor. Do I have any objections to that? Of anybody? Can't see anybody. Pippa, can you?
No, no hands raised.
Thank you very much. We're going to item 7 now. It's a member of the working group. I think it. I asked for this to be set up because I think it's the right way of going forward. So it's a responsibility of the whole council. So, Councillor Hiller.
Yes, thank you, Leader. As you quite rightly say, Cabinet will be aware that the council has received funding already of approximately £175,000 as part of the Emergency Active Travel Fund. This funding came with the instruction that local authorities should reallocate road space in the city in favour of pedestrians and cyclists by using temporary pop-up facilities. The council, as most will be aware, has installed a number of measures around our city centre as a result of this tranche 1 funding. The schemes, Leader, are currently temporary measures and no decision has yet been made on when, I have to say, or indeed if they're going to be removed. We are and still will be keen to encourage cycling and walking as sustainable modes of getting into and around our city, and we'll be looking closely at any evidence to support the popularity and the continued use of these installations ongoing. Further to this initial funding, the council has submitted an application via the combined authority for an additional £625,000 to install more cycling arrangements as part of the second phase of the government's funding programme. The council is expecting to hear soon how much funding we will be allocated. But whatever the level, I have to say, it must be spent in this financial year, and the schemes already planned are detailed in the report before members this morning. As an important element of this government-funded investment in Peterborough, I'd like to recommend Cabinet approves a cross-party request for the creation of a cycling and walking members working group and approve the group's draft terms of reference. It's not proposed the all-party working group has decision-making powers. Rather, its purpose is to aid greater understanding of the issues involved and recommend reasoned, evidenced and workable schemes for our officers to consider and to undertake in accordance with the delegations in the Constitution, of course, with appropriate and workable consultation. Where actions require decisions to be taken at member level, such as via full council, cabinet or cabinet member decision notice in accordance with the Constitution, then the working group may recommend to the appropriate decision maker what actions should be taken. I do stress one purpose of the working group is to help speed up actions relating to delivering the measures, not to delay them. Given what I've outlined, cabinet members will appreciate the need to move swiftly for the creation of the working group, and I hope you'll all support the proposal before you this morning. Lewis Banks, I'm fairly sure, is in the meeting to answer any detailed questions about the scheme, Leader. But before members do ask any questions, I'd just like him to clarify perhaps and outline what we're doing by way of ongoing monitoring of the levels of people using these current schemes in tranche 1, especially as we're being allowed to return to offices. That's a question mark, I know, but that's the plan so far. And perhaps we're all looking forward to Christmas shopping. So if Lewis is there, I can't actually see him on my screen, but I think he is in the meeting. Perhaps you'd just give us an outline, Lewis. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor. Lewis, I know, Lewis, whilst you got the floor, can you tell, because it seems to be one of the best kept secrets, that we've got £500,000 to do up the Green Wheel. And when will that sort of work start, please, Lewis?
Yeah, thanks, Leader. Thanks, Councillor Hiller. Yeah, so regarding the monitoring then, yeah, we've actually got cycle counters installed on our pop-up cycle lanes, so we'll be able to get the number of cyclists. We're also monitoring traffic flows in the city, and as Councillor Hiller said, obviously with the schools going back, more and more businesses and offices starting to open as well. We're conscious, obviously, that in the build up to Christmas, generally, obviously traffic increases as well. So we're monitoring all of these, and that information will obviously be fed into the working group. Regarding the Green Wheel, we have got £500,000 committed to upgrading it. We've had a survey done to look at what are the sections that would be most in need of improvements, and we're currently just reviewing those at the moment, hoping to start work on those shortly.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? I think you had one, Councillor Ayres, did you not?
I do. I'm sorry that I was late into the meeting. What I'd like to ask is about the school situation, either to Peter or to Lewis. The School Streets initiative, it seems to be an excellent way to increase activity levels amongst our young people and reduce congestion around the school gates. So can you tell me how many schools have expressed an interest, and are any schemes up and running yet? I was particularly interested to know whether there was any prospect of doing, if there are any cycle lanes near schools, whether they can be done up as well, because obviously they're important to get our school children cycling and walking, of course.
Thank you. Do you want me to answer that one, Councillor Hiller?
Yes, happy for you to take that, Lewis.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so we've got 12 expressions of interest so far with schools, and we hope to have 10 up and running by the October half term. I think we've currently got one up and running at the moment, and the colleague is in active discussions and doing some site visits with a couple of schools this week, so hopefully they can come online soon enough. Obviously with regards to the cycle lanes and so on and so forth, no direct plans at the moment. What basically each scheme is doing is the emphasis is on the school to putting some temporary measures at drop off and pick up times, so to discourage obviously school traffic dropping the children off right outside the entrance, so to making it a lot more inviting for children to be able to walk and cycle into the schools. But yeah, definitely, I think I see that as part of the working group. Then we'll be able to review this further to see if there are any permanent improvements needed near schools as well.
Thank you, Lewis. Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Leader. Lewis, may I first of all say how great it is to hear the additional funding that's been achieved for improvements to the Green Wheel. That's a real positive long-term project that I'm delighted to hear about. Now, with regard to this working group, and it's great that it's cross-party, very important, but from the terms of reference that I'm looking at, I can't ascertain who is going to be consulted with. Will it just be a working group talking shop of councillors from all parties, albeit? But will we be taking points of view from those affected by these temporary measures we're putting in, rather than just those that might use it?
Right, Lewis. I guess the quick answer to that, Steve, the group themselves will be inviting any experts that they feel can contribute to their ongoing dialogue. And I guess within that remit, they can pretty much invite who it is they wish to the various meetings that they have. I don't know whether you want to add anything to that, Lewis.
Yeah, just obviously that we're obviously collecting all the feedback we've received. So as part of the first meeting, we would obviously, give an overview of the kind of people that have comments, both positive and negative, and where there are challenges, to really inform, yes, which experts or which people they would like to invite in to give evidence and feedback.
Okay, thank you both. That's good to hear that the people who are affected by these temporary measures will be heard. Thank you.
Councillor Walsh.
I might just follow up from that. It's the group has autonomy, Steve, so it really is up to the group, and that's the idea of this cross-party group. They talk to whoever it is they wish to talk to, if that desire is reciprocal. Thanks.
Councillor Walsh.
Yes, thank you. Could I ask, please, about the 3 areas that have been identified for the tranche 2 funding, and could you just give a sort of brief idea of why these particular locations have been chosen? I mean, I'm referring to the Oundle Road, Park Road, Broadway in point 4.3.
Probably a bit technical for me, Lewis, so maybe you better pick up on that.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Yeah, not a problem at all. Yeah, so we've chosen those 3 roads then because they, as part of the guidance, it had to be on-road reallocation of road space. So similar to what the schemes or the types of schemes that we've already got in and around the city centre. They also, within the guidance, said that they should be linked to local authorities' local cycling and walking infrastructure plans. Now, we've got one of ours, but it's only in draft format at the moment, so it still needs to be consulted on. But within that, it obviously gives prioritised routes where there's the biggest propensity to increase walking and cycling. And so all of those 3 streets mentioned, do factor in quite highly. Obviously, some of those anyway already have some cycling and walking provisions on them. So it's really looking to build upon those. And obviously we're conscious as well in terms of timescales to be able to deliver. And so those roads were kind of identified, if you like, as being roads where we think, we will be able to, achieve some infrastructure improvements.
Okay, thank you.
If I might just add to that, Leader, I think, as I mentioned before, I think it's important to remember that this second tranche of funding, however much we get, has to be spent within the current financial year. So expediency is really expedient. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. A couple of points. There was comment about asking for submissions, but perhaps Lewis could tell us if individuals or a group want to make a submission, how should they go about doing that? And the other point is Councillor Allen mentioned temporary items. I would have thought what we really need is to be working towards the future needs of the city with these proposals. Thank you.
I agree with you, but that's not what the funding's for. Okay, you can answer that, Lewis.
Yeah, sure. So as part of tranche 1 and tranche 2 anyway, we've had a number of suggestions that have come in. Some of them have been obviously eligible to meet the guidance, some of them haven't, but we have been logging them all. So they're all feed in obviously to future consideration for future improvements as well. And yes, although these are obviously only temporary measures, the ones we've put in at the moment, really in terms of looking at the longer term, it's that local cycling and walking infrastructure plan that I mentioned there. It is only in draft format, but obviously looking to take that through consultation, discussion with members as well. And that would form the basis of a future plan, if you like, to for infrastructure to increase walking and cycling levels in Peterborough.
Thank you, Lewis. But if a group or an individual wants to make a submission now, should they drop it off at the town hall, addressed to Lewis Banks, or is there somewhere we've got an address for them to write to, an email address?
Yeah, sure. They can obviously email myself or any one of our team directly. Obviously, you can do a written form into our offices at San Martin House. There's a number of ways they can get in touch with us to discuss plans and raise requests.
Okay, thank you for that. I've had no other speakers. Did you want to add anything, Peter?
Only just following on from what Lewis has very ably outlined, and I think part of the function of this group will obviously be to look at any disruption that's caused by temporary measures against the facilitation for future cycling and walking routes, but cycling in particular into the centre of our city. These results, these figures, this evidence will, of course, mould and shape any recommendations for the future. And that's all I wanted to say, Leader. Thank you. Thank you, Lewis.
Before I move to the vote, Lewis, I understand Glinton-cum-Peaker Primary School is in on this school situation, and they're struggling. Could you? I think it's a young lady that's dealing with it. Would you ask her to contact the parish council, please, because we do have some ideas.
Yeah,
thank you.
Great. Thank you, Leader. Will do.
Okay. So yeah, members, Peter's moved the recommendations. I'm happy to second them. Anybody got objections?
There are no hands up, Councillor Holditch.
Thank you. Budgetary control report, Councillor Seaton.
Thank you, Leader. In May, June and July, I brought reports to Cabinet that set out the implications of COVID-19. As I've said before at Cabinet, we're internally tracking this on a weekly basis with regular updates by all councils in Cambridgeshire to the Gold Group and MPs. I can update you that at the end of August, we had total COVID-19 pressures of £34.8 million, taken against the £13 million of funding the government has provided directly and ring-fenced funding of £10 million. This leaves a forecast COVID-19 pressure of £11.8 million. As per the table in section 4.7, the deficit at the end of June was 14.1 million. Our updated projection across all budgets showed the net overspend position to the end of July was actually 9.6 million. This is a £3 million deterioration over the May position, and this actual position is slightly better than the COVID position due to timing differences, as overall monitoring is to the end of July, whilst COVID-19 figures are to the end of August. I hope you followed that. We must still continue to focus on two areas. Firstly, our transformation work, concentrating on finding more offsetting savings. And secondly, we really must continue to lobby for additional COVID-19 funding to bridge any gap. On this latter point, our finance director meets regularly with his peer group. We meet regularly with government, and our MPs continue to set out the case. Let's be very clear, the current pandemic is posing a huge financial challenge for all councils, with particular concern about council tax and business rates, which are showing 3.6% and 23.3% reductions year on year for Peterborough. As Councillor Fitzgerald made very clear on the politics show recently, I think everyone is suffering at the current time. And it was interesting to see the reporters on the politics show across the whole of our region saying every single council had a challenge. The updated detailed analysis of under and overspending is contained in Appendix A. It's also important to note that the council has promptly delivered the vast majority of additional funding that the government has provided to business over the past months. Indeed, the BES grant and discretionary grant schemes will be fully paid out by the end of September. This report also contains a section on the issues the council is having to deal with in approaching its 21-22 budget. As previously outlined within the report presented to Cabinet on the 13th of July, the council is in a very challenging financial position, and there is significant uncertainty surrounding our ability to set a legal and balanced budget for 21-22. The issues we're grappling with include difficulty delivering current and future years savings plans due to the council's local response to COVID-19, additional costs and reduced income generation within the current year, and the longer term impacts on the council's base budget as a result of these pressures, diminishing and low levels of reserves further eroding the council's limited financial resilience, and future funding uncertainty, which creates an additional layer of challenges when developing future strategic plans. These causes include the unknown impact of an economic recession, future COVID-19 waves, and response required at a local level and funding allocations from local government. I think it is worth repeating, we're not alone. many councils are in the same position, and I think the government is fully aware of that. MHCLG have confirmed that the local government provisional finance settlement will not be announced until the late fall, and that leaves us in an uncertain position. However, as a first step, we must plan growth and savings proposals to go out to consultation in mid-October in order to be sure we can deliver fully those plans in 21-22. The second phase of the budget after Christmas will be clearer, as MHCLG will have had time to consider in its provisional finance settlement the true position for the sector. Appendix B sets out the revised capital programme and takes account of year-end slippage and additional schemes. The overall budget requirement for the year has reduced from £112 million to £85 million. These changes need to be approved by full council. I'm not going to repeat all I said at last Cabinet, but it all remains pertinent. You know, to repeat again, clearly our engagement with government is critical, and that continues to move forward. Government is listening and is understanding the challenges we have. As I've said, also, our recovery work and budgeting must move forward hand in hand. So Cabinet are asked to note the recommendations in this report, especially the requirement to continue to lobby for additional funding to minimise the effects of COVID-19 on Peterborough and the approach to the 21-22 budget. Thank you, Leader. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, members, do you have any questions? I think that's a very comprehensive introduction. Wayne?
Thank you, David. And yes, I think our message to the world, as it were, both locally and wider circles, hopefully is getting through, because we're not alone in this. But Pete, or probably Peter, I do have a question about the present capital position and why the budget has been reduced on that. If you could answer, thanks.
Certainly, thank you, Councillor Fitzgerald. In overall terms, for present position, and the vast majority of the reduction is there is a technical adjustment made in overall terms to account for leases properly, and that's the adjustment that's taken out in terms of the numbers in like for like. In overall terms, that's £22 million. However, in overall terms, as Appendix B shows, we have a number of ups and a number of downs. We've got about £7 or £8 million worth of new schemes, about 12 or 14 million pounds worth of schemes now that are not going to happen or be delayed slightly, which gives us the overall net effect, which is actually no different than it would be for any year. I think a big issue we're going to have this year, however, is going to be spending the programme, because obviously the issue up to the end of June, July was that very little of the schemes are actually allowed to go ahead in terms of the COVID restrictions. And if we have another set of lockdowns, let's say, for example, the works on Town Hall North and the social distancing we have to do there, we have a peak period for that in November where we will have lots of people on site. If further restrictions come on place there, that will delay that, which will then increase costs and delay the scheme even further. So it's a bit chicken and egg at the moment, but we just need to be very mindful of the fact that we need to check the actuals on a monthly basis.
Thank you, Peter. Members, are you happy to note the report? I take it David proposed it, so I'll second it. Anybody against it? Don't see anybody.
No, there are no hands raised, Chair.
Okay, we're now going to item 9, outcome of petitions. Do you agree to note those?
There's no objection, Chair.
Do you want to propose and seconder? I'll propose. Do you have a seconder?
Leader.
Thank you. Did you get who that was, Pippa?
Yep.
Okay. Are you all happy with noting that? I don't see any objections. Thank you, good people. You can go off and hear the Prime Minister's statement now at 11 o'clock. Thank you very much. I think we've done, Pepper, haven't we?
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you very much.